It all started on a Tuesday, one of those ordinary, quiet evenings. The sun was setting, painting the sky orange and pink. I was curled up in my favorite armchair, a half-finished book on my lap. The house was silent, peaceful, the kind of calm that feels like a warm blanket. The steady tick of the grandfather clock echoed in the background. Leo, my cat, purred softly on the rug. I watched dust motes dance in the last golden light. Everything felt safe, content, perfectly ordinary. I stood, stretched, and walked into the kitchen, the cool tiles grounding me. I filled the kettle, glanced out at the quiet moonlit backyard. The world outside was asleep, the moon a thin sliver in the sky. I felt a fleeting sense of peace. It was the last time I would feel truly alone in my own house. As twilight deepened, the colors faded, and the streetlights flickered on. I closed my book, thinking about making tea, settling in for the night. The house creaked and sighed, familiar and comforting. I knew every sound, every shadow. I had no idea how quickly that would change. The air was still, the silence deep. I felt completely at ease, unaware of what was coming. That night was the last moment of pure, untroubled calm. My sanctuary was about to become something else. The storm was coming, and I didn't even know it. The change was subtle at first, a prickling on the back of my neck, a chill in the air. I'd look up from my book, heart racing, but the room was always empty. The grandfather clock ticked, Leo slept, but the feeling of being watched lingered. Then came the sounds, soft shuffling upstairs, faint whispers from empty rooms. I blamed the wind, the pipes, my imagination, but the noises grew more frequent, more distinct, following me from room to room. One night, a soft thud echoed from the attic above me. I froze, listening, but heard only silence. The unease grew stronger each day. My home felt unfamiliar, threatening. I started leaving lights on, double-checking locks, dreading the silence. The peace I once cherished was gone, replaced by a creeping dread. I was always on edge, senses straining for every sound, every shadow. The house felt like it was holding its breath, waiting. I tried to convince myself it was nothing, but the fear wouldn't leave. The familiar became strange. I was no longer at ease in my own home. The silence was no longer comforting, it was suffocating. I was being haunted, and I couldn't ignore it. The dread was constant, growing. My sanctuary was slipping away. I was no longer alone. The whispers in the walls had found me. The first time I saw it, I thought I was dreaming. It was past midnight. I was heading to the kitchen for water, guided by moonlight. The house was silent, except for the hum of the fridge. As I reached the living room, I stopped. Something was wrong. The air was ice cold. In the corner, a shadow darker than the rest stood tall and thin, vaguely human. No face, no features, just a silhouette absorbing the moonlight. I froze, heart pounding, unable to move or speak. I tried to rationalize it, a trick of the light, a coat, anything. But I knew that corner. Nothing should cast a shadow like that. I blinked, hoping it would vanish, but it stayed, unmoving. The fear was primal, paralyzing. Seconds stretched into eternity as we faced each other. Slowly I stepped back, never breaking eye contact. The shadow elongated, stretching toward the ceiling like smoke. Then it dissolved into the darkness, gone as suddenly as it appeared. I stood shaking in the hallway, the cold lingering. The corner was empty, but I knew I wasn't imagining things. I wasn't alone. The house felt different now, haunted. The fear was real, and it had a shape. My sanctuary was gone. The shadow had found me. I would never see my home the same way again. The haunting had begun. After that night, sleep became impossible. Every creak sounded like footsteps, every shadow a threat. I lay awake, tense, waiting for the shadow to return. The fear was suffocating, my bedroom a cage. The encounters grew more frequent, more terrifying. Sometimes it stood at the top of the stairs, other times at the foot of my bed. Its presence was heavy, crushing the air around me. I tried to hide, to pray it away, but it always returned. Each time it felt more real, more solid. I slept with the lights on, but the shadows only multiplied. Exhaustion took over. dark circles, frayed nerves, isolation. My friends noticed, but I couldn't explain. The shadow man was everywhere, even in my mind. I was haunted day and night, unable to escape. The fear consumed me, leaving me hollow. I questioned my sanity, but the terror was real. I carried the dread everywhere, unable to share my secret. The haunting was relentless. The shadow man was no longer just in my house, he was inside my head. Fear changed me. My home became a prison. By day, I pretended things were normal, but the anxiety never left. I avoided certain rooms, kept the attic door shut, shrank my world to safe spaces. My heart raced at every noise, my hands trembled. Sleep deprivation made everything worse. I was irritable, disconnected, overwhelmed. The line between night and day blurred into endless fear. I tried to fight back. Brighter lights, music, rearranged furniture. Nothing worked. The shadow was tied to me, not the house. The cold spots, the whispers, the feeling of being watched, they never left. My attempts to reclaim my home felt futile. The isolation was crushing. I couldn't talk to anyone. Who would believe me? They'd say I was stressed, overworked, but they wouldn't understand the terror of seeing that figure at night. So I stayed silent, carrying the secret alone. The weight was unbearable. I was trapped, locked away with my fear. My sanctuary was gone. The shadow had taken everything. I was a prisoner in my own home. One night, something inside me snapped. I lay awake, fear gnawing at me until the air grew cold. I knew he was there. But this time, anger bubbled up beneath the terror. I was tired of being afraid, tired of hiding. I sat up, heart pounding, and saw him, tall, dark, near the window. Usually I would freeze, but not this time. I stood shaking, but determined. "What do you want?" I demanded, my voice trembling. The shadow man didn't move, didn't answer. I stepped closer, yelling, "Get out! This is my house!" The shadow grew darker, the cold intensified. The pressure in the room built, a malevolent energy pressing in. My courage faltered as the shadow seemed to feed on my anger and fear. I realized I wasn't scaring it away, I was making it stronger. I had confronted my monster, but it was winning. The fear was overwhelming, I was losing control. The shadow was more powerful than ever. Just as my bravery crumbled, the shadow moved, rippling suddenly right in front of me. The cold was unbearable, paralyzing. I stared into the void, feeling it look through me. Then a voice echoed in my mind, a dry, rasping whisper. It spoke my name, twisted and filled with malice. It knew me, my fears, my secrets, my doubts. The realization hit. This wasn't just a haunting. The shadow was personal, intimate. Its cold was the coldness of my own despair. The force of the whisper sent me stumbling back. I scrambled away, terrified. The shadow didn't follow. It stood, silent, in the center of the room. The voice faded, but its echo remained. I understood. The shadow was connected to me. I was only beginning to comprehend how deep that connection ran. After that night, the shadow man appeared less often. The house grew quiet, the cold spots vanished. For a moment, I thought I'd won, but I soon realized it hadn't left. It had changed. The haunting moved from my home to my mind. The shadow became the voice of my anxiety, my self-doubt. It was there in every mistake, every lonely moment. No longer a monster in the dark, it was the darkness inside me. The shadow man was my unseen companion. He was the fear of not being good enough, the dread of being alone. The haunting was now internal, constant. I stopped trying to fight it. I learned to recognize its presence, to understand what it represented. The shadow was a part of me. He was my darkness, always with me. I was learning to live with my shadow. Today my life is different. The house is still my home, but it's no longer a prison. The fear is still there, but it doesn't control me. I've come to an uneasy understanding with my shadow man. He's the whisper of doubt, the chill of anxiety. I've learned the shadow feeds on my fear. The more I fight or run, the stronger it becomes. My own emotions gave it power. But if the shadow is made of my fear, then I hold the power. I can't destroy it. It's part of me. But I can choose not to feed it. Living with the shadow is a daily practice. acknowledging fear, but not letting it rule me. Some days are harder than others, but I don't hide anymore. I remind myself the shadow is just a shadow. My story doesn't have a neat ending. The haunting never truly ended, because the haunting was me. Maybe the goal isn't to defeat our shadows, but to learn to walk with them. He is my shadow, and I am learning to live in the sun.